Sonic and the Black Knight. Never before has there been a more aggressive level of prejudice since Sonic Unleashed, which came out a year before this. Then this record was shattered by the reaction to Sonic 4. And Sonic Boom happened, and... You know, I was going to say something clever, but then I remembered how volatile this fanbase can be when it comes to being a true Sonic fan. Look, the point I'm trying to make is that Sonic the Black Knight is considered a bad game because Sonic uses a sword.
And who wouldn't get a bit narky? I mean, Sonic with a sword? Really?
Like Unleashed before it took just one image. One image! For the fanbase to come to a complete meltdown. Except me. I was more concerned and curious of this direction they were taking. So like any normal Sonic fan on launch day, or every fan who swore Sonic games since Sonic 06, I was ready to play the next installment of the Storybook series. Now, I know some of you are going to call out on me and say, I've already reviewed this game. But back then I just said a few sentences and stacked a score on it. 6.1 if I recall. So this time I'm going to take a thorough review from beginning to end. Let's get started.
The game starts off with Melina, granddaughter of Merlin, running away from the Black Knight. While surrounded by several knights of the underworld, she summons Sonic holding a couple of chili dogs. Why? Because fans, I guess. After dealing with the knight, Sonic has a standoff with the Black Knight, but is stopped by Melina, pulling him back and teleporting away. The Black Knight, who is King Arthur, speaks with the Knights of the Round Table, Lancelot, Gawain and Percival, portrayed by Shadow, Knuckles and Blaze, ordering them to slay Melina and Sonic on sight. Sonic must then journey in the land of Albion and partake in the art of the blade because he has to, according to Melina, and retrieve the sacred blade Caliburn.
Now before I go on, I need to address the elephant in the room, and that is Blaze's portrayal as Sir Percival. Now, most people complain that she should be called Lady or Dame, while others complained the lack of use of Galahad and Lamerick in place of Percival. Well, hell, why not even use Espio? He's considered a rival, and he's in the game Sonic Rivals too. Well, here's the thing. King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table are mostly considered a legend, and it's questioned whether or not they're even real, so an idea of a female knight is not entirely discouraged. But if there was a female knight, having the title of Lady or Dame would not make her equal, and having the title of Sir, and not being addressed to a female or male, would make her equal among her knights and respected as such. Yes, I've had sex, shut up.
Back to the game itself, the gameplay is a mixed bowel for me. Unlike Secret Rings, you move with the nunchuck rather than tilting the Wiimote, but still jump with the A button as well as the homing attack. While this may be a great improvement on control, it still restricts you to a single path, which forks at times, but it's still on rails. To swing the sword, you flick or swing the remote. This can be a nuisance as you don't feel that the swings and swipes are corresponding with your motions. It's just best to flail widely until all enemies are gone or you break something. You can also guard with the Z button, which will be your best friend later on. Oh, and the rings are fairies. Because I don't know. With Sonic wanting a challenge, Melina summons a giant freaking dragon, and it's easily taken care of. Sonic eventually gets to the sacred sword and pulls it from the stone, but alas, this is no ordinary sacred sword, no. This one talks.
Fool! You are the chosen one. You are but a squire.
Oh yeah? Says you.
All joking aside though, the dialogue between Sonic and Caliburn adds some much needed comedy to the story, since everyone else is serious about honour, pride and death. King Arthur appears and Sonic chases him down. In this first battle against Arthur, you chase him and time your swings in order to hurt him. Like with the dragon before, he is easily taken care of, but unfortunately, he possesses the Scabbard of Excalibur, which rejuvenates him and leaves, stating,
"A fool of a knight, not even worth slaying."
You see, he thinks so too.
After more back and forth between Sonic and Caliburn, Melina states we must find the Lady of the Lake to learn more about King Arthur and how to defeat him. One thing you may have noticed is that the cutscenes play out just like Secret Rings, a storybook. I do prefer these over Secret Rings in terms of motion comic animation, but they still have a diluted brown colour to them. I know it's mainly for storybook themes, but at least it's more consistent than the film reel cutscenes of Bayonetta, which is on a more powerful system. The game is divided into missions across 6 zones, as it were, each with a specific task. At the end of each mission, you are rewarded with stars instead of medals or ranks. This can be quite discouraging, as most of these missions are quite difficult or require a ridiculous amount of points to earn 5 stars. Aside from stars, there are also followers that increase your rank with your chosen style, more on that later, as well as items and titles which don't really do anything. With a set amount of points, you must identify the items you gathered in a level or received from a villager after a game of silence says. A majority of these items are pointless and you end up identifying items you already have, but some are actually useful. We finally meet Tails as the blacksmith to sharpen Caliburn. Here we learn to perform the surge attack with the B trigger. The surge is a combination of time and speed drakes from its predecessor. You speed through the stage until an enemy spawns and time slows down. Here you must flick the Wiimote at the right moment to slay them and earn more surge points. Yes, Sega has managed to create quick time events with the Wiimote, and well, they're not bad, but it's not useful for gameplay either. After meeting Tails, you can visit him before missions to change your style: Knight for balance, Paladin for attack, or Cavalier for speed. With these styles, you can add items you've identified that have certain effects, such as extra rings during dying, or protection against poison. The problem is you can only equip 2 items per style, meaning you have to go back and forth changing styles and items to suit each and every mission. This was meant to be a more simplified version of the skill point system from Secret Rings, where you have an insane amount of skills to equip and additional buffs to help you along. The fact that you have 4 rings to choose from allowed for more customization options. Yes, it was tedious, but I much preferred that than the overly simplistic yet limited styles of Black Knights. I played the entire game on Knight style with no items equipped, and it made no difference. On the way to meet the Lady of the Lake, we are intercepted by Lancelot, who challenges Sonic to a duel. Unlike King Arthur, you face these knights head on and attack them when a guard is down. Like I said before, the guard button will be your best friend. With some patience and well-timed sword swings, Lancelot is easily taken care of and we take his sword, Arundite, as our prize rather than slaying him. You know, I really should talk about the enemies you face because it's one of the most lazy examples of enemy variety. Most of the knights of the underworld you slay are basically the same. Oh, this one has green highlights, it's using an axe. Purple, crossbow. There are giant knights that pop up occasionally, as well as bats, wall crows and armoured flowers from Final Fantasy X, but that's about it. You'll have noticed I'm talking about the story more than the gameplay itself, and that's because the missions themselves are rather mundane. They follow the same usual pattern such as reach the goal, defeat a set number of enemies and so on. It differs from time to time with talking to villagers or using a new skill, but that's about it. Unless you add those items in style change, which do very little overall, you're just as powerful in the end as you were in the start. Anyway, Sonic finally visits the Lady of the Lake, Nimue, played by Amy, and she seems really out of place. Don't get me wrong, Lisa Ortiz is doing a great job, but seeing Amy not acting as the hyper fangirl we know her as is just off-putting. It's like seeing Blaze actually smile. She tasks Sonic to complete 3 noble missions to prove he is worthy of becoming a knight, and along the way Sonic sees a child who begs for help. Being a noble hero, Sonic goes to the rescue, and along the way we face Gawain. Gawain is just as easy as Lancelot. But this was a ruse set by Nimue, who was the child, and reveals to Sonic how to subdue King Arthur's immortality. We must use the sacred swords. Well, of course. So all that's left is to find Percival, who is oddly hanging out in a volcanic mine.
I am Percival, Knight of the Round Table, servant of King Arthur. State your name and your master, sir.
I'm Sonic, Sonic the Hedgehog. I have no master, except the wind that blows free.
Very well, Sonic, Knight of the Wind. Prepare for battle.
Bring it on!
Percival is the strongest of the knights who actually uses pyrokinesis. Sonic soon defeats her and saves her from falling into the lava below. While we get a bit of Sonic shipping moment, Caliban finally accepts Sonic as the knight and dubs him the Knight of the Wind. We meet Melina again, who departed some time ago before running off to face King Arthur. In his final battle we still chase him, though he is actually a step up from his previous encounter and is the hardest boss yet. After defeating the Black Knight, Sonic uses the Sacred Swords to nullify the Scabbard and defeat King Arthur once and for all. But then the game ends.
Well, that was abruptly short. I mean, okay, it ended on a bit of a high note with the vanquish of the Black Knight, aka King Arthur, but not everything was...
What the?
Are you kidding me? Again? Again. Okay, it's better than what Secret Rings did with its cliffhanger faux credit sequence. What was a real point to this was an entire second half of the game.
Anyway, King Arthur turns into smoke and leaves the scabbard behind. Meanwhile, the knights have caught up with Melina, but Sonic arrives to tell everyone the news and hands the scabbard over to her, who tells us that
there was never any King Arthur.
Huh?
Well done. And thank you, Sonic. With this scabbard, I can erase my grandfather's greatest mistake.
What?
I shall make this kingdom eternal.
Sonic, get back!
Yep, Melina had played us. She is now the new enemy and has become the new queen. Kinda missing the whole title of the game here. Anyway, Sonic and the Knights escape the castle in an awesome cutscene to reflect on what happened. Nimue reveals that the swords can activate a barrier to steal the dark energy Melina is projecting from the castle, because Avalon has a magic barrier now. With the new status quo in place, it's time to play as the Knights. Yes, you can play as other characters and not just Sonic for a change. Lancelot plays a lot like Sonic, but is more of a heavy hitter as he stops to swing his sword. He can also use the Chaos Punishment as his surge attack. Percival is harder to control as she has more aerial moves and also stops to attack. Gawain is the best to play between the three, as he is more balanced and can get multiple hits in as well as his surge.
The thing I like about this is that you don't have to absolutely play as these characters to complete the game. They are an option. I mean, no one enjoys big stages. Hardly anyone enjoyed the hunting stages, and I'm sure as hell not going to play those damn stages as Silver anytime soon in Sonic 06. These are just an option, and I wish more Sonic games would take advantage of this. I mean, Sonic Boom came quite close, and we all know how that turned out. I'm depressed now. There's something good to talk about. The music!
Even though I hold Unleashed above this, Sonic and the Black Knight has one of the most unique soundtracks I've heard in its 20 plus year history. Not only was Jun Tsunori and Yutaka Minobe, two Sega Sound veterans involved, but so was Tommy Tallarico, who worked on the music for these classic games. All three brought rich Celtic inspired tracks that give each environment their own identity as well as the cutscenes. But did you know who else is in this game? Crush 40! Not only did they perform the main theme, Night of the Wind, but they also gave us not one, not two, but 3 more songs. All 4 songs rock. After placing the swords in the pedestal to create a barrier, which does bugger all, Sonic goes in for the final battle, and we finally find out why Melina did all this. She wanted to create a kingdom that doesn't die. I know to many this seems like a bit out of nowhere, but it was brought up near the start of the game with her wondering why flowers bloom when they are destined to wilt. It's one of the few good reasons we get as to why the antagonists do what they do, rather than, "'Cause I'm evil, bitch!" Sonic battles her, but is outmatched. In the process, Caliburn is broken in half, as Sonic takes a very severe beating. Nimue and the Knights watch Sonic's efforts and shout at him to run. Sonic refuses, resolving to stop Melina no matter what. Sonic's determination, combined with the power of the Sacred Souls, repairs Caliburn, and a duo transform.
Sacred swords! Excalibur!
Ha! Let's do this!
was awesome. Too bad the final boss is quite the opposite.
Melina transforms into the Dark Queen and is stupidly easy. Dodge left and right and charge the surge attack by countering and unleash the Wiimote waggles. Rinse and repeat. At least the boss music is good, though not as good as Crush 40. After the battle, Melina continues to lament the fate of the kingdom, but Sonic gives her some words of advice.
Every world has its end. I know that's kind of sad, but that's why we gotta live life to the fullest in the time we have. At least, that's what I figure.
Grandfather.
Afterwards, Lancelot says that the Knights of the Round Table will have to disband now that King Arthur is gone, but Caliban reminds them that he is the one who chooses to be king.
So then, you? You are the one and true King Arthur? Who? Me? Huh? Hey, cut that out!
And that's Sonic and the Black Knight. Like, you know what? After all these years and playing the game again from beginning to end, I honestly enjoyed it.
Don't get me wrong, it has its problems, but they are more technical issues than the overall concept and the story, which is its biggest strength. The story is very well written, as is the dialogue with characters speaking in medieval vernacular, and my choice for the best story in the Sonic series. The repetitive combat, easy missions and limited controls keep it from greatness, but the overall presentation, music and bonus content save it from being completely worthless. The same cannot be said for the multiplayer.
It is really not as bad as critics make it out to be, and I implore you all to give it a second chance. You may be surprised at what you overlooked.